What's good and Tim, pretty people? My name is Corey. This is my crib. I'm normally live streaming my show on Hot Topics, but today I will be showing you how to run your show like a pro using Shopro.live. This is an app I developed after running my own live stream for over 2 years. It was a cumbersome task running a show dolo. I had to use at least 6 different tools to help me accomplish what I can accomplish with ShowPro, which is managing our segments, having a script, tracking showtime, letting co hosts and guests view our shows run down before and during the live stream in real time. It generates and manages our show ticker, our rundown panel, and our segment Chiron. I'm going to show you how I do it so you can do it too. And we're going to jump right into it and create our first show by pulling up showpro.live. Before that, let's get rid of this rundown over here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to pull up the ShowPro website. This is what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and skip the welcome panel. And I'm going to log in because I'm not logged in yet. Now that I'm logged in, I actually have a show that I started creating already, but we're just going to hit new and start a brand new show. It's that easy, you know? So we're going to plan this show just like I plan my normal shows. I'm going to start by putting our show number. This is it. I've been doing this show for 2 years, and we're on episode number 222. That's what episode we're on. I normally just title my shows with the day and date of the show. So we're going to do that later tonight. And we're going to do tonight's show at 9 p.m. We normally do it at 9 p.m. So I'm just going to go ahead and set it for 9 p.m. All right. And now we're ready to start adding segments. Every show I start with a starting soon screen that lasts about 2 minutes. I do this so people can come in, join the show, and things like that. So over here at the top, I'm going to put 2 for the number of minutes that we want to do. I'm going to name the segment starting soon. I'm going to skip the ticker, notes, and script, but I am going to uncheck include in rundown. This is the rundown over here on the side, and I don't want the starting soon to show up in the rundown. So anything you don't want included in that rundown, just make sure you uncheck that include in rundown box. Now, after that, I normally start my show off with what's good and saying, how's everybody doing? Give you a brief breakdown of what we're covering in the show. Also, some hellos and what's ups to my co-host. And I normally title that with the date as well. So Tuesday, October 10th is normally our first segment. And I'm going to actually add a script here. I normally start my shows off with some type of script that kind of just breaks down some of the things that we're going to cover. So I'm going to add a script there. And that script actually allows me to use this teleprompter feature, which I can actually hit this teleprompter. It'll automatically start scrolling, and I can use that to actually keep track of or pretty much read my script on what's going on or what I plan on covering and things like that. So after that, I add another segment, which is going to be our first hot topic we're going to cover. Drake recently dropped his album, and Joe Budden has some things to say about it. So we're going to talk about that first, and I'm going to call that Drake versus Joe Buttons. But in my ticker text here, I'm now going to add Aubrey is in his feelings, because it does look like he's in his feelings. We're going to talk about it on the show. We'll put Aubrey in his feelings for the ticker text. That ticker text is actually down here on the bottom. Here's a preview on the screen that you can see for the ticker text, and there's a ticker text right down below here on the actual stream that I'm doing as well. And this is all generated by ShowPro. So that's how that ticker text gets put there. Anything you put in ticker text for a segment actually gets added there. I have this website that I was looking at, Complex. They actually had a story talking about this little tiff that Drake and Joe Button has. I'm actually going to copy a couple of paragraphs and the link to that story here. Not for me to read as my own speech or anything, but so when I share this show out to my co-hosts and guests, they can actually come here and get some insight into what we're going to be talking about on the show if they're not already aware of it. And if you haven't noticed, you can actually double click the details, the notes, and it does get a little bit bigger for you. So I'm going to go ahead and add my other topics just so I can get this first show planned real quick. All right, so we have our segments set up. That's pretty much all we need to get our first show scheduled and ready to go. But before we start our show, let me go over the interface real quick. Let's go over the interface real quick. Okay. Let's go ahead and start up here at the new, up here at new show. New show does exactly what it says. It starts a new show, a blank slate, blank canvas. That's how we started this show. Save show lets you save your show, exactly what it says. Anytime you make a change, this save show is going to turn green to let you know that, hey, there's some unsaved changes. So I'm going to go ahead and save this show now. And as you notice, it turned gray because we've saved all our changes. We have start show, which what that's going to do, that's going to start our show. That's going to trigger the timer. That's going to send a notification. Not a notification. It's going to update any client that's open on the show. So any shared links that you sent out, if they're on this page, when the show starts, they're going to see this in real time on any of their devices. It'll also replace the new show and save show buttons with previous segment and next segment. And that's going to allow you to run through the show. Now, as time is running down here, you see we're about 35 seconds. Once it gets to 30 seconds, this card is going to start flashing yellow to let us know that, hey, this show is coming to an end. Warning. Once it hits 0, it's going to start flashing red. So it signifies that we are over time and we should either wrap this segment up and move on to the next one. So once we hit 0, it's going to flash red. Here we go, flashing red. And it knows we're over topic. And now we can go ahead and hit next segment, which will highlight the next segment green and move on. It'll dim out any segment that we've already completed. So I'm going ahead and hit end show. Up here at the top again, we have all shows, which clicking that opens up our show menu and allows us to see all the shows that we've had either scheduled or ended, and we can load those up. We have the share show button, which will allow us to give this link out to our guests, our co-hosts, or even our audience if we wanted to. And they will be able to view what we got going on with the show, notes, and things like that. You can password protect it. Hitting this button over here will copy the URL. And we also have a QR code. So if you're with somebody in real life, they can just scan this, pull it up on their phone, and they will be ready to go. You know what? Actually, let me go ahead and scan this now. I'm going to scan this with my phone so we can pull this show up. So when I'm ready to show you about more of the sharing capabilities, it'll be ready to go. And that's the show loaded up on the phone now. All right, so next we have show stats. Show stats is going to show us our segments, the times the segment started, the time it ended, and also the over and under of the segment. This middle section over here has our show details, the details we entered earlier. There's also a ticker options button. This ticker options actually allows us to change what the prefix, the suffix, and what the separator looks like on our ticker at the bottom of the screen. Notice the beginning, it says powered by Shopro. The end says visit Shopro.live. And each separator between every ticker is one of these bullets. So that's what we have for our separator. You can actually also add emojis in here if you like. So it's totally up to you. All right. Next, over here in this area, we actually have our show schedule. When the show hasn't ended, this will tell you when the show is scheduled. It'll tell you the estimated show time based on all of the segments. It'll actually show you the running show time, the actual time, and it'll also give you your over and under, which how long you went over the show or how much you went under the show. Down here in this area, we have our new segment button, which you saw a little bit earlier. That's how we created a new segment. We have a sort button and we have a reset segments button. I'm going to go ahead and click this reset segment buttons because when you end the show, it makes it to where you can't edit anything else in the show. So a lot of times you will want to run through your show, test your show, and when you end it, it'll kind of lock everything up. And that's done purposely. So to fix that or to reset that, you just hit reset segments. This will erase all previous time data and it cannot be undone. So once you save a show, don't reset it. When you want to keep it, that is. So now that we reset the show, we hit save. All of our times are now cleared out. All of our buttons are now active that we can do things. You got the new segment button, which we don't need that new segment there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And we also have the sort button, which this allows us to reorder our segments. If we wanted something to go before or after, we can change it around if we wanted to. And I see I have a typo here. So I will come back down here and just fix this typo real quick because I spelled football with only one O. And I think that pretty much covers all about buttons here, you know? Now, before we start our show, I'm going to just break down the segment cards for you real quick. A card simply holds your segment details, which you will reference during the show. There are a couple of actions we can take. We can delete our card. We can edit our card. But let's focus on the information we get from our card. When the show is running, the current segment will be highlighted green to indicate its go time on this segment. You'll see the remaining segment time in the top corner. Every segment will have an estimated start time based on the show's actual start time. You got your notes, which you can double click to enlarge. You got your script, which you can actually use the teleprompter to go through your script. At the bottom of our card, we have our segment times, which shows the start, end, and over-under of each segment. Next, we're going to talk about sharing your show with co-hosts and guests, which earlier you showed me hit the share button, use the QR code, and I scanned it with my phone. I got the app. I got the show shared on my phone. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you my phone. We have all of the segments. You know, it's lined up with everything over here. So we have the show on my phone. We got the show in the browser, and we're going to go ahead and hit start show. If you noticed, the show started both in my browser and on my device. Anybody that's connected to the show on their device will automatically get updates when you share the show. So that's kind of dope. You have the time of each segment. Oh, damn, my screen started going black. The time of each segment over here counting down. Matching the times on the screen. When we go to the next segments, it goes in real time. Every segment in real time. The user could double click, get the enlarged details, just like you can in the browser. When we hit next segment, it follows along in real time. So that's sharing, and sharing is helpful for when you have guests and co-hosts and you want them to be in line and on track with what you got on topic. And when I hit end show, it ends on the device as well. Isn't that dope? I think that's kind of dope. Overlays and sources. We have our show scheduled and shared with who needs it, and everything is good. But how can we make it better? We can make it better by integrating it into our live stream. And how will we do that? Maybe we can put it in an overlay. So guess what? We have overlays as browser sources, and we are going to use these browser sources with OBS, which is the software I use to live stream. This will also work in a similar fashion with applications like Streamlabs, as well as any software that supports browser sources. All right? It's simple. It's going to go over here and hit the navigation on the side, and we're going to go to browser sources. We have 4 of them over here. We have full overlay, Chiron, rundown, and ticker. For this example, we're going to use the full overlay, which the full overlay includes the Chiron, the rundown, and the ticker. We have multiple themes we can choose from, but for this example, we're just going to go ahead and choose the Kari's Crib theme. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this URL, and then I'm going to go over here into OBS. I only have one scene in here for simplicity, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new source. I'm going to call this browser source Shopro. I'm going to call it Shopro Overlay. I'm going to call it the overlay. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to paste my browser source in here, and then I'm going to change the dimensions to 1920 by 1080, which is kind of like a high def resolution. I'm going to change this to a custom frame rate, and I'm going to set that to 60, so it's kind of smooth. And once I hit OK, everything's going to come up, and we're going to see our show in our browser, and I can come back here, and then when I start the show, you will see that everything is running smooth in here. So we have the show started. Notice that the starting soon isn't in the rundown. And that's how you get everything inside of OBS. We have our show scheduled. We have our overlay on our stream, but we can actually integrate OBS even a little bit more. And integrating OBS is super simple and can be done in a minute. You see, because OBS has this thing called docs, and all you need for a doc is a URL. Well, guess what? Shopro.live is a URL and was built to be used with tools like OBS. So let's go ahead and doc Shopro in OBS. It's super simple. We're going to go over here to the top. We're going to hit the docs button. It's going to bring down this drop down, which is going to allow us to add a custom browser doc. You can come in here. You'll add your new browser doc. I already have one labeled Shopro.live. And all you got to do is put in the URL, https Shopro.live. Hit apply. When you come over here, you can actually open up a doc, which will now load Shopro into your browser. You can come in here, log in. Oh, wrong password. And boom, here we are. I'm going to go over here and pull up this show, refresh this just so I can actually get in real time. And boom, here we go. Starting soon. I have total control of my show now. So we're starting. We're going to hit next segment. We can go to the next segment. You see how time is going. Hit back. Our time is tracking. I can make updates in real time. If you notice when I hit next, the Chiron changes, the rundown changes. We can pull each one of them off and on as we want. And that's setting up your show like a pro using Shopro.live.